Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on this 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, because right now we are crashing to the downside like crazy. Today alone, we saw already a 5.5% move to the downside in one straight candle here. But let's get into this Bitcoin analysis for today. Of course, yesterday I was talking about this RSI being in overbought territory. And typically what you see when the RSI is in overbought is that the RSI will reset back down to around this 50 level. And the way it does that is either by some choppy sideways price action or some bearish momentum on that 4-hour time frame. Safe to say that we got the bearish momentum here. Apart from that, this was actually pretty interesting in yesterday's video too. We had this level of resistance here at about 102.5K in the Bitcoin price. As I was saying yesterday as well, if we break through this 102.5K level, then we can start looking towards this level to the upside. But until then, this is still a level of resistance, and therefore you should watch out for a potential rejection, especially with the RSI in overbought territory. And then from there, yes, indeed, we saw the rejection. And in fact, it was a pretty big rejection as well. Anyways, another important aspect of yesterday's video was this level here, which I had marked in white between 100K and 99K for the Bitcoin price, saying like, hey, yeah, potentially we could get some support here, but we haven't tested this as a level of support on the 4-hour time frame after breaking out above it. So therefore, we cannot expect there to be support here until we actually get confirmation of it. So now this is exactly the situation that I was talking about in that video, because we just fell straight through this level here and even went a little bit lower after that as well. Let's now actually take a look at some levels of support for Bitcoin. Right here, you can see that we are finding some short-term support on this descending trend line, which as of the time of recording is sitting at about 96,000 in the Bitcoin price. If we were to now continue to fall lower and lower here, or maybe even through this trend line, then I will start to look at some Fibonacci levels as some potential areas of support. So right here, you can see this Fibonacci golden pocket sitting between 95.8K and 95.4K in the Bitcoin price. Typically, you will see a lot of support in an area like this. And if we actually fall below that 0.65 level, sitting at 95.4K, that would be a very bearish signal in the short term. So do keep that in mind. At that point, we might even be looking at coming back down to a trend line like this, which would already be sitting at about 93.5K. So yeah, definitely be mindful of that. This is a very critical level of support to actually hold. And in terms of resistance to the upside, in the immediate short term, like let's say that we do get a bit of a bounce here, I would be expecting there to be some kind of resistance just below these lows at around 97.6K, just below these lows right here. If we were to break through here, through that 97.6K level, then the next area to look for some potential resistance is between 99 and 100K once again. Now, of course, with this new situation, with this new rejection in the charts, we need to kind of take stock of where we are at now in terms of the technical analysis. So, I want to take a look at the RSI on the 1-day time frame too. Actually, before I get to that, let me do it on the weekly time frame, right? So on this weekly time frame here, we were in this big consolidation for many months. At that time, July, August, I kept talking about, well, the base case being that we are in this downtrend, and then eventually we would break the downtrend and get up into this overbought territory on the weekly RSI. Now, that is exactly what ended up playing out, and what that can teach you as well is that these RSI downtrends or uptrends, they are important. So now on this 1-day time frame, you can see that we are in a downtrend as well, meaning that so long as we are below this trend line here, Bitcoin is basically just going to chop or go down on this daily time frame. But I do think that eventually we are going to break out of here at some point, and then likely we will come into overbought territory again. That is my base case expectation here. However, so long as we are below this descending trend line, then technically the 1-day time frame is in a downtrend on this RSI. So keep that in mind. And if you see a break of this trend line, guys, I think that is going to be the signal that we should be looking at potentially entertaining a big long position or something like that. Not financial advice, of course, but I think something like that is the catalyst for a big reversal signal, especially if you see other things lining up with that base case outlook. So for now, I'm not going to go too much deeper into this, but expect me to talk about this quite a few more times. So get ready for that. Hopefully I won't have to talk about it for too long. Let's now move on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 1 year time frame, you can see that on this 1 year time frame, we actually have a bunch of liquidity to the upside now at about 103.6K, where we have close to $20 billion worth of short positions that would get liquidated if the Bitcoin price reaches this level. We also, on this 1 year time frame, have a lot of liquidity, close to $20 billion, sitting at about 90,000 in the Bitcoin price. So now let's actually zoom out a little bit and consider that we have that descending trend line in the RSI. What could that mean on the 1 day time frame? Well, so long as we stay below it, we could basically just be trending towards between these two white lines, what I'm assuming to be big levels of support, for example, at about 91.5K. But the most important level to hold for the bulls is at about 85K. Anything below that, guys, that would be the most bearish outlook for Bitcoin, because there is basically no support in this entire area here until we get to about 73K in the Bitcoin price. But for now, that isn't something to be like extremely worried about. If you're actually really worried right now that we are going way lower here, then, take some profits, man. Just take a little bit off the table, lower your stress, just lock in some gains and take it from there, okay? Not financial advice, but if you're really that stressed, then just realize some profits, man. That isn't going to hurt you in the long run. No one has ever lost money taking profits. Either way, this has been today's market update. If you missed yesterday's video where I literally showed you this exact level of resistance at about 102.5K, where we got rejected from, then just make sure you turn on notifications for my YouTube channel here so you do not miss any of these important update videos in the future. But regardless, if you do end up doing that or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.